Okay, guys, it's 9 o'clock. Before I call us to order, our secretary has some annual housekeeping she'd like to take care of.
Hi, everyone. It's become somewhat of a tradition for me that I give a gift to the new LNC members. You see my fancy little name thing there. I've bought one for each of you. So I'd like to pass this around, just grab yours. And on the corner there, I have the little holders, so when you have a chance, just come and get one. Particularly with the nice new video system we have, when it looks at you, your name will be in front of it. So, and if I spelled your name wrong, don't be embarrassed. Let me know, and I'll order you a new one. I hope I spelled everything right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to call this to order at 9:01 a.m. I'm never going to do that again. I'm all confused. And the first thing we've got up is public comments. So we have opportunity for public comments. 2 minutes per commentator. Anybody going? Come on up. Do we have a timekeeper? Anybody volunteer?
I got it.
Mark will timekeeper. Come on up. Just let everybody know your name and what's here.
Travis Voss, West Virginia. This is a candidate support request from our state chair. It's not appropriate, you can let me know, but I'll use my time. Madam Chair, LNC members, I'm writing today because of the amazing opportunity we have here in West Virginia this election cycle. Over the course of the last 2 years, we have experienced a surge in the liberty movement in our state. What began as a disdain for rhinos from current and former Republican state lawmakers has now blossomed into a contempt for all lawmakers who fail to rein in our governor for his use of emergency orders. After the May 2022 primary, the state had 23 unopposed House of Delegates seats and 5 unopposed state Senate races. As the chair of the Libertarian Party of West Virginia, I tried to fill these unopposed races with Libertarian candidates from across the state. The race that is very promising in our state is District 12, which is a head-to-head matchup between current Republican delegate Ben Queen and Libertarian Stonewood Town Councilman Austin Lynch. My friend Austin Lynch was elected to Stonewood Town Council last June, and I believe is a better candidate, hands down, over Ben Queen. On paper, it is no contest. Austin Lynch is a Operation American Freedom veteran and former West Virginia National Guard member. He is a hospice chaplain by day, by night, and on Sunday he is the pastor of the Missionary Church in Stonewood, a proud father of 2 adopted children and devoted husband. On the other hand, Queen is a career politician who literally went straight from high school to the legislature. He was once the youngest member of the legislature and has served 3 terms in the West Virginia House, where he has voted against school choice, campus carry, and failed to send a letter requesting a special session that would end the emergency COVID orders. Unfortunately, elections aren't decided on paper. While Austin has raised an impressive $8,000, Queen has an extensive war chest totaling over $50,000 last I checked. Queen also has entrenched political allies in Charleston and a popular family name. It's a true David versus Goliath fight, and we need your help. In closing, I would like to humbly request the LNC contribute however they can in supporting Austin's campaign for West Virginia State Senate District 12. I'd like for this to be an all-out effort to spread his libertarian message in West Virginia and across the United States. Please reach out to me with any questions. Will Hyman, Chairman, LPWB, and I can forward this to whoever would like to see it.
Any other public comments? We have time. See, have a little round of shoulders. There we go. Thank you. Let everyone know your name and speak.
Hi, my name is Luke Emser. I'm from Pennsylvania. I wasn't really planning to make any public comments, so I don't think I'm prepared, but I'd just like to make a call to have more of a focus on the escalating tensions with Russia and China, because Murray Rothbard himself said that the greatest threat is mass murder and nuclear war is the worst threat of that. And it seems like our leaders, your leaders in Washington, are hell-bent on provoking a direct confrontation with Russia and China using the proxies of Ukraine and Taiwan. And that, I think, is potentially would be the greatest catastrophe in the history of the world. And we are the party of peace, so we should have something to say about that. More to say about that. There has been stuff that's said. I'd just like to call for more. Thank you.
Here,
Any other public comments? All right, if they're done, we're gonna go on to the next agenda item, which is attendance roll call. Madam Secretary, would you like to do roll call?
Yes, ma'am, so Angela Carter, present, Joshua Smith,
Here.
Patty Gopian.
Here.
I am here, Mr. Blankenship. Mr. Bowen,
Here.
Mr. Elliott.
Here.
I know Mr. McKayla and Mr. Ruffo were going to be absent. Mr. Banner,
Present.
Mr. UK. Mr. Ashland,
I am here.
Ms. Iowa. Here. Mr. Ford,
Here.
Ms. Gabber. Here. And Mr. Nana, who is in the parking lot. Mr. Watkins,
Here.
Mr. Clark,
Here.
Mr. Cowan,
Present.
Mr. Dassing,
Here.
Mr. Hall,
Here.
Mr. Nepomuceno,
Present.
Mr. Pankey,
Here.
Mr. Chinyevich, I'll get it, and Ms. Scott. All right, Madam Chair, Mr. Buquet and Mr. Nana are in the parking lot, two here presently, and Mr. Michaela and Mr. Rubo are absent.
Thank you. Mr. Kraus, if you have a moment at some point, could you please set up a Zoom or a call-in number for Mr. Michaela so that when it comes time, we can get his input on a couple of things?
Yeah, we can call them anytime we want.
Just regular phone call?
There's the conference phone there.
Oh, fantastic, okay. Okay, next item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. I believe there were one or two issues that someone was going to raise. So take a moment to scroll through the agenda, please. And then let me know if you'd like to adopt it or if you have any adjustments.
Madam Chair, I would like to amend the agenda to remove the audit report. Situation we are really time constrained. There's really no report that Mr. Committee should not have, but we are available as a sidebar to answer any questions at the email.
Okay.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Any objections? Would it be all right if I say hearing no objections, that portion of the agenda is set? All right? Anything else? Oh, yes, yes,
I believe the convention committee report needed to be added,
okay.
so I'd add that under the standing committees, where the audit report was going to be.
Anybody
And for 10 minutes.
for 10 minutes? Okay. Are you?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion on that? That was an oversight, we need to review. Once, going twice, no objections? Okay, the agenda's changed. Yep, one more, one second.
I would move to strike the agenda item that Mr. Michaela had put on there since he's not here to speak to it.
Okay,
Second.
okay, thank you very much. Any discussion? Everyone okay with that? Any objections? Going once, going twice? Okay, that portion of the agenda is stricken. Savannah?
I'd like to add, something to the agenda. I got an email from, Mr. Galvin Foster, who wanted to write something for our blog. He gave me a choice of a few different topics. And that's the answer.
Okay, so what should we call the agenda?
That's a contribution to the blog.
Okay.
And if you want that under your business without releasing it.
Yeah,
Okay.
really, I just want you guys to decide what topics you want to write. I told her I can guarantee it'll be published.
Okay,
I'll second that.
thank you. Any further discussion? Any objections? Going once, going twice? Okay, that agenda item has been added under new business. Any other issues with the agenda or changes? Okay. So, our wonderful secretary is typing into OneNote. Can we get an updated version of the agenda? So we can have it?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so the agenda's been amended, what, 3 times?
I think it's 4 times. No, that's 2019. I want 2019. I'm going to
You're not there, 2019.
That'll take me a few moments, but I'll have it.
But at some point, I think we're still gonna do the motion to adopt this.
I would move to adopt the agenda as amended.
Okay,
Second.
okay, seconded by Mr. Bender. Any objections? Going once, going twice, nothing else to add? Okay, agenda's adopted, fantastic. Thank you, it will get updated on the screen once our secretary has a chance to catch up to it. Okay, the next item on the agenda is, wait, did we skip credentials report paperwork check?
I had already taken care of that, and what that is just making sure everyone is still a current national member,
Okay.
which is required for the LNC, but I confirmed that with Mr. Kraus.
Okay. Okay, then the next item on the agenda is reporting potential conflicts of interest. Anybody have potential conflicts of interest to report?
The list as it currently stands is in the OneNote, so if that is current, then that will suffice.
Okay. Okay, and then we're gonna go into officer reports. So our secretary sent out an email, I believe, reminding everyone that when you give a report, you're really just speaking to supplemental issues. And you don't actually have to repeat your report verbatim. Is everyone aware, comfortable with that? I think you aware now. Okay. Okay, chair's report, sent you a 6-page report about a week ago. Couple of things I would add are that I mentioned Texas they're in the middle of litigation and having a fundraiser for that. They're also doing something pretty interesting, which is they're doing outreach to some of the people who were impacted by the Uvalde shooting. So I think that's really good and the kind of outreach we need to do. So if anybody is interested in that, you should definitely contact them. I think Judith is a woman who has been corresponding with me. You could probably also get in touch with anybody on their Slack. Joe Burns. It would be really cool to see other states try to do a little bit of outreach when those sort of things happen. So just be mindful of that. Let's see. A couple of people asked about joint national state party membership. It's called unified membership. we do want to revisit this idea and see if there are more states that want to go in on it. I was working with our treasurer. We are talking about giving the states a portion of the proceeds from each membership so that they're incentivized to do that. I know there are a couple of states that haven't used the link yet. I think rather than shaming them for that, we probably need to help them understand how to market it and make it look a little bit more appealing. So I hope that clears that up. Someone also had questions about the affiliate link program. I do intend to have an official rollout for that in August and have, advertising for it and push it. We had a lot going on in last month and we were a little bit short-staffed, so we just could not push graphic design, roll out announcements for every school thing. So that will get revisited. And I do intend for there to be a strong distinction between the affiliate link program and the unified membership program. They're gonna have different branding. I want states to be obviously in charge of their own branding and do whatever they want with the unified link membership program, and that's why we're gonna stick with that for states. Affiliate link program is more for people who are leading voices in the liberty movement, influencers, things of that nature. Does anybody have any questions? We're good. Mentioned I've been on TimCast, I'm gonna be on TimCast again on Tuesday. That's all I've got. And a little bit of advice on that, anybody who gets invited onto that show, don't talk about yourself at the time. That's how you don't get invited back. You need to understand what that show and other like shows of similar nature are about. Okay, if there's no questions, we're gonna go on to the next agenda item.
And the adopted agenda is in one.
Fantastic. Okay, next agenda item is vice chair's report.
I don't have a report, so,
Nothing going on in industry.
I mean, yeah, we had something going on in Idaho, but I reached out to Wyoming and also, New Mexico, they both told me to hold off until after August 5th. And then Hawaii has, some dispute on who's allowed to be on board there, but they, haven't got back to me since the last time I talked to them, so, we can report on Idaho if you want. I have like 100 pieces of information that the whole board's gonna need to go over. We're probably gonna have to call special meetings for that, so that's pretty much all that I got going on in my board.
Okay. Okay, any questions for Mr. Going once, going twice? Okay, then we're gonna move on to our treasurer's report.
This is good news.
All right, the June report that I entered will serve as the treasurer's report. So just 30-second recap. $180,000 revenue was our best non-convention revenue month of the year. We are up to $241,000 cash reserve, which is a strong cash reserve position for the party. We have paid off the $50,000 loan. That balance is now zero. Expenses were kept down brilliantly by the staff over the entire course of the year while we were experiencing lower revenue. That has kept us in a solid position. So thank you to the staff. The reason the revenue was up is because we had an uptick in membership. That is something that's important to note. That as our revenues went down, that was one of the reasons that we were significantly missing revenue, was because membership was dropping each month. So it has an enormous impact. In addition, we did have a lifetime increase over that course of that month. That's going to carry over from the convention. Recurring donations is another thing I wanted to highlight. We were up 7% last month to the highest point that we've ever done, which was around $53,000 a month. So we need to focus on continuing to increase new members, continuing to convert people to lifetime memberships, and that's very, very importantly for revenue continuity going forward. We need to focus on increasing our monthly contributions. Any questions? All right. Thank you.
All right. item is Secretary's report.
I'm going to have a.
However,
Yeah, I'm gonna do it from here because I will have a couple of motions. One thing is I started passing around the room, I don't know if it's gone around, we got some really good coverage in Westward and Denver. And I think seeing the actual physical magazine is a lot more impactful, but it was really, really good coverage and it worked a great deal of time on that. Most LNC members, your local town, RABs are very interested in having the fact that a hometown person is on a national committee, and you probably can get something very similar. Or if you do a press release, it almost always gets picked up, at least in Colorado, that's been our experience. So don't really have much to add to my report, but I do have some motions. So the first motion I would like to make is to approve the 2022 convention minutes, version 7, which has been posted on the website for the required amount of time for the bylaws and has been distributed to the LNC.
Second.
okay, does everyone understand the motion? It's just, okay. Any discussion? Okay. Okay, all in favor of approving the 2022 convention minutes? Please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Now, Secretary, is it all right that there's not two roll call?
Well, since there was no objections, it does require a 2/3 vote, but obviously it was. Okay, my next motion would be to approve the July 23rd, 2022 LNC minutes, version 2, previously distributed to the LNC.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any objections? Okay, all in favor of approving the July 23rd, 2022 LNC minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
All right, one more set of minutes. I move to approve the July 25th, 2022 executive committee minutes. Technically, only the executive committee can vote on approving the minutes, though any LNC member can offer corrections.
Which? What am I looking at right now? Item 3?
Yeah, the meeting we just had of the executive committee, which was basically we moved to go into executive session and we came out of executive session.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, where's my executive? Okay, so it's been moved. Do you have a second? Any objections? Any discussion, any objections? Going once, going twice? Yes, let's pay for the document in the minutes today. Second, aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. Any opposition, any opposed? Nope. Okay, fantastic. Okay.
Okay, next thing I have, because this is required by Roberts, I have a printout of the July 17th, 2022 minutes. We moved at our May 25th minute to expunge the censure of Joshua Smith. So in the presence of the assembly, I am supposed to put a big bracket around it and put expunged on such and such date. So I'm just trying to find the part where it finally was voted on. You guys did a lot of, here we go. So it would be right here. I just put a big bracket and onto the second page. And put in the margin, expunged, ordered to be expunged May 25th. So I'm doing that in the presence of the assembly. And that will get scanned in. Now something, because I know people were concerned, nothing gets crossed out. History has not been erased. All it does is it gets bracketed with a handwritten note saying order to be expunged on such and such date. So those will now become part of our official record. The last thing that I had was I'm working on a new internal file structure. Just as a little bit of background, I said on the list, but this is more for the benefit of the public that's watching. The way we handled our official LNC records in the past is that they've only existed on the computer of the secretary. And I just think that's terrible organizational practice. My computer, I mean, any number of things can happen. Or, I could run off and join the commies, you just never know. So that ain't gonna happen, but you never know. So I worked on creating a document management system that resides on the party's server. So it won't necessarily reside on the secretary's personal computer anymore. Now, I'm already about 80 hours into this because I have 5 years worth of records that I need to organize. But I'm just going to briefly show you on the screen what it's going to look like. You guys won't have to mess with that. It'll be the secretary. But I just want to show you, briefly what I'm doing. So on the shared drives, we have party records, and they're broken into folders. And for instance, in the meetings folder is everything that we use to support like this meeting. So and it's broken down by LNC term, which seems like the most logical breakdown. So for the meeting today, July 31st. So like the agenda, like everything is in here. So each of your reports will go into a folder, say for instance the Region 8. All of the Region 8 reports will go into a specific folder for that. So a future regional representative can just get a link to one folder to see years worth of Region 8 reports. Part of the problem that I had to solve was the Region 8 report also goes into the meeting folder. And if it gets changed in one place, it doesn't get changed in another. So the filing protocol is the original will go into the Region 8 folder, and then in the meetings folder will just be an alias. So if it's changed in one spot, the change propagates throughout all folders. So this has taken me quite a bit of time. I'm working a manual that will explain the organizational procedure for it that can get passed on to successor secretaries. So hopefully, though, this will do a much better job of maintaining our minutes, and new committee chairs, new regional representatives, new secretaries will be able to get a folder of all of the historical reports to learn from. So I anticipate being fully done with moving all the records up there probably in the next month or so, and I'll keep you guys updated. But this was one of my campaign promises, and something I think we sorely needed. I can't believe we went 50 years without doing something like this. And that's all I have, unless anyone has any questions for me.
Thank you. So yeah, that's very nice, very nice. We are an hour ahead of schedule, which is awesome, and makes me feel great, and I love you. The next item on our agenda is staff reports. So we've got 90 minutes on the agenda for staff reports. Staff, you have plenty of time. No pressure to take all the time, but you have plenty of time.
I will try not to ruin the wonderful trajectory that we're on. Though I recognize that it is oftentimes terrifying to hear the words Mr. Harris 90 minutes. So I will be brief. So as all of you on this board and most who are watching online are aware, this is my last LNC meeting as your executive director and the last couple of days of my tenure as executive director for the National Party. Our staff works very hard to do a lot of things, not the least of which is compile good staff reports for the board. So I hope you have all had a chance to take a look at them, and if you have not, that you will, because I too will keep with the trend of not recapping the entire report, but simply hitting highlights and additions. One of the reasons that I gave a long runway of notice to this body of my departure was because of the financial condition of the party at the time. I wanted to be here to see things through to a point where they could stabilize. I'm a big believer in the campsite rule. You leave things the way you found them or better. And I wanted to be sure we had a chance to do that. I'm very happy, as Mr. Hagopian reported, that we have recovered a sizable cash reserve. The convention bounce was essential in that, as well as just simply the act of recognizing a large portion of deferred revenue that we knew was coming our way in terms of deferred convention revenue, allowing that cash position to recover. But also just top line revenue being the highest that it's been in the year, and our development team on a fantastic trajectory, and our members and donors showing a wonderful amount of support. So I'm happy to say that things are on stable ground financially. A second reason for my long period of notice was wanting to see this LNC and our staff through a couple of important upcoming events. We had a wonderful presence at Freedom Fest. I think those of you who were there with us, Ms. Eiler helped us man the booth, Ms. Ina Scavage, who was present as well, and of course our chair, who had a number of very successful events and speeches and panels and booth time and the whole kit and caboodle. And then of course to make sure that everyone felt supported, staff and LNC alike, through this meeting. And the third and final reason for my 2-month window of notice was to ensure that there was plenty of time for institutional knowledge to transfer. One of the big challenges we have in this party at the national level, the state level, at the local level, is the loss of institutional knowledge when we have turnover. And so I'd like to express gratitude to our chair and our senior staff, who have endured many long meetings with me over the last couple of months as I projectilely dispensed as much conceivable institutional knowledge as I could have, and to ensure that things would get off to a good start. I'm going to go ahead and turn things over for their individual report sections to our staff members who are present. Before I do, I will just express what a tremendous honor it has been for me to be a member of LNC staff for the past 4.5 years. How privileged I have felt to serve as executive director for the last 1.5 years. It is more than just a team. Our staff is like a family. In more than any other place I've ever worked, more than any other group I've ever been a member of, more than any other body that I've joined, we've become such important people in each other's lives, and we remain that way when we leave. And I know we have a challenge to compensate for some staff attrition, not the only departure this month. And as Mr. Hagopian praised us for, we kept expenses low. One of the ways we did that was by not backfilling right away some departures that we had people last year and early in this year. So I know that's a challenge that I'm sure very competent people will be tackling going forward. I appreciate you in this room. I appreciate the former LNCs with which I served. I appreciate the 4 chairs that I served under in my 1.5 years. And with that, I will take any questions before moving on to other members of staff, but I will also circle back and afford a last chance of questions at the end if anybody has anything now. Otherwise, I will recognize Mr. Robert Kraus for the report from our operations team. Mr. Kraus.
Hi, I submitted a report. Hopefully you've had a chance to read it. I'm happy to take some questions if anybody has any questions about anything. Well, there you go. Thank you.
All right, brevity. Thank you, Mr. Kraus. The back portion of that operations report, of course, was our CRM and affiliate support report. So we will move straight from Mr. Kraus's section to recognizing Mr. Andy Burns. Andy, you can come on up if you want.
Sure. Take it back to that. How are keeping each other on their side?
Yeah.
Not too crazy.
90 minutes.
I will maximize.
Teach us computers.
That's right. Well, I can teach you about affiliate support and where, it's funny, in LP years, I'm very old. Being 7 years, Robert is just ancient over there. But, it's amazing that we continue to have a great institutional knowledge of Robert. It's absolutely critical. But in the 7 years, I've learned a lot. It's been in 2014 or even before that, after the Gary Johnson campaign, and Ron Paul initially got me into all this, was, okay, what's the Libertarian Party of Minnesota? What do they got going on? What do you have to work with? And coming in, I had to kind of do almost everything myself, and I was hoping, I ended up just getting in as a volunteer and trying to raise money, get our membership up, doing the basic things that we all need to do to actually elect candidates, and kind of, frustrated. So going through all these steps, became executive director, and about a year and a half, 2 years into it, I called up Wes Benedict, executive director at National at the time, and said, I was maybe a technical need. It was just like, why do we not have templates and marketing materials? And like, this is something that every state needs this, so let's just do this stuff. And he's like, I only have so much time. So anyway, that's how we got hired, and that's how we started. That's how I started, and now I'm here. And so we ended up, putting together a knowledge base, and we put together marketing materials, and these are available right now. But from a 2015 to 2017 standpoint, these 2 years, it was me trying to work with California for doing some fundraising with them. It was successful, but very short term, right, duration. I trained someone, but then maybe they leave, or we did raise money, but the lasting effects, it wasn't infrastructure building. So after this time period, we ended up figuring out, what do affiliates really need? How can National really have an impact with growing our state and county affiliates? Because our party is, National is just, we're here, but this is not necessarily our party. Our party is our local people. If we don't have them, it's nothing. We're just an island. So that's how my focus has been on the CRM project and data empowerment. And obviously using that when I'm teaching them how to fundraise. Like Texas is, I'm not sure what they're now, maybe 11,000. They still got a ways to go, but they're 30% there, and they have 30 days left. But I'm showing them how to prospect national donors in our state, and we're just giving them it's like a cheat sheet. Like here's the shortcuts to go and maximizing your time to raise money as quickly as possible from the right people. And knowing who those people are, so you're reaching out to them properly. I was once called in Minnesota after I was ED, and it was, they had no idea what it was. Even though I was just executive director about a year and a half before that. They just called me as a random person. So it didn't give me the warm feelings that that organization then was that capable. And actually being a successful organization, they can't do basic things like that. So anyway, that's how we are here now. That background is very critical because it's just National, as Tyler, we have now kind of transformed it. It is more national supporting the state. It's not just one or two people on staff. It's Gabby helps with. We're working with Iowa and joint fundraiser coming up early August. Our communication director has been doing some support, and Kara is probably the other person that's really key on building party infrastructure for Canada. So this is the direction we need to go. This is about infrastructure. If we don't have infrastructure, you cannot do a whole lot after that. So I will try to be brief here and blast through a few things and then leave it up to questions because I know people probably have a few of those. Recapping on what affiliates need, we did a survey last year. 36%, and it was a big survey, 300 or 400 actual county chairs and state chairs, affiliate leaders. 36% said party infrastructure. services from national. Between candidate recruitment, support, and training, that was 30%. These are what people are caring about. It was like 50% was ballot access, right? Some states need ballot access. Other states like Indiana, they're good. They really don't need much national. My relationship to them at this point. I've passed around a racist edge migration proposal. Racist edge to city migration proposal to make that clear. And please, it's pretty detailed. We will be doing a presentation tomorrow. I will be around all day and night. Please take a look at that. Detailed has plenty of information. So main things I want to point out on that is it's about serving the entire party. It's about real-time updates so that data is immediate. And we're not operating in 2005 or whatever, sending CSVs to a state that no one uses. Like, they do not use that. One person might use it in a state, but it doesn't get distributed to any of the volunteers. If it is, it's old data at that point. We are obviously national, and then focus on all the leads that come in from states and counties to help us, because it's a two-way street on it being beneficial. We can reduce our costs by $62,000 a year, which sounds exciting, because then you guys can decide what you want to do with that $62,000, which is always more fun to talk about than having to cut costs. So Indiana success, I just want to point out, $130,000 is they are raising $130,000 a year. It is in a large part directed from the command saying that the CRM is a major component to that success. They might raise, he said, maybe like 70,000, something, a good portion, better than most states, but this is a catalyst and force multiplier for all their volunteers right now. So they have 54 of 92 affiliates at the county level active. It's pretty darn good. I think at the end of 2020, they had 5 active, or 15 active, and then 5 went inactive. We did a Texas CRM migration. Just to point out, what we're doing, it doesn't matter, XYZ CRM, it matters, but that's not the biggest thing. The biggest thing is that we're actually, it's a managed product, and we are managing it properly. Most states set up Nation Builder, HubSpot, whatever, doesn't really matter. You can go through the list. Salesforce, you can do whatever you want. None of them are on Salesforce, but you can do any of them. It doesn't really matter. However, they are not properly managed. They don't have the funds to have someone actually manage it, and you have multiple volunteers, and some of them are good, but they have different processes, and so they'll import data differently, they'll change the data model, and so it really gets jacked up, which then means it's unusable, data does not stay clean, data doesn't stay updated. It's really a train wreck after a couple, 2 to 4 years. Every state loses data. Florida, a lot of states that migrate, they don't have data back like 2016 beyond. Which means every state is basically going through a valley, losing a bunch of institutional knowledge, which is data and who people are, and starting from scratch by getting a CSV from Robert, and it's a contact file. And it is something, but you're basically way down here. We should be building. I just want to point out when we do things with the CRM, which is very powerful. We did the Bitcoin fundraiser for national. Obviously, we want to raise money for national and do that. But we also took the advantage of providing now any state can accept Bitcoin if they pay in any other cryptocurrency using the system. And it's very easy for us to enable that and do that now. So one improvement is helping everyone. And that's with a party that doesn't have tons of money, we need to be super efficient and targeted, and really it's all about priorities. And I'm here this weekend, so I want to know what the priorities are. So we can focus on it, because we can knock things down and hit our targets when given, like getting that done. Finally, referral program. As Angela said, it's up and live, it's ready to go. Presidential candidates, all these influencers, please, we need to get them on board. Referral program is literally a referral program, but we should also remember that what I'm trying to do with states and counties, directly with states, 2 counties, is the whole Libertarian Party needs to be a referral program. That's what this thing is. We are an affiliate organization. Affiliate organizations have affiliate links, and everyone's supposed to be building together. So, unified membership is just another form of that, with mortgage representatives. So, that is all, probably longer than you anticipated.
I have,
Any questions?
okay, LNC credentialing, for the convention. Can you give me just a couple of bullet points of what went right, what went wrong, what you could have used more support on, what people could have done to make it smoother, faster, whatever?
One more notice, LLP, we need, timeline of, we know there will be a convention happening in 2024. It's not a surprise. So just, Susan Hargrove was great to work with, but we just started too late. So that's one thing.
You started uploading data too late, you started getting new data too late?
Yep,
Okay.
too late. Because 2020 was a weird year where we weren't able to really use it as a dry run, because it was only used pre-convention, not at convention. So really, and then just, knowing exactly what they need, the handout was, I thought they would have, I gave them all the data, they have all the delegates. At that point, they can, any reporting, they have to tell me. At the end of the day, any state needs to tell us what.
Okay.
And that's why Evan McMahon in Indiana, where the relationship works great, because it's like, I need this. I'm like, cool, I understand. Whereas sometimes it's a little fuzzy on what the needs for.
Do you ever anticipate that people don't know how to communicate their needs? Is that a thing, or is it just that they're sort of heel dragging or procrastinating, or they're too busy with other things, and then they're like, geez, I forgot to do that.
We are needing to go deeper to do like the discovery of like getting them to be able to communicate
Okay.
exactly what they want.
Mhm.
It's kind of, it's not a very clear.
Yeah, that's fine, because it seems like it's kind of murky, so I'm trying to figure out like, how do we make it feel easier for you?
And it's also just a time thing.
Okay.
Doing, X the Bitcoin fundraiser or whatever it is, I don't know how much time to spend on any other than let's do it fast, cheap, and good, which we all know that formula actually is broken and never works. You cannot do all those three. You have to pick two. I always tell people, pick two. And so, cheap and good probably is the one that keeps getting chosen. I can do these things, but.
Okay. How much time do you need for a project like that? Because you have an entire workday, and then we have to cram something new in, but you obviously have other things that you need to do. So like, if we wanted to do any kind of special project that was like the Bitcoin thing, or something of a similar size, like what kind of lead time do you need to not be stressed out and be successful?
Depends on what we're doing currently, but it's hard with the Bitcoin one. It would be we actually needed to upgrade it and make it the integration work, because we didn't actually we took something that worked in 2019, had to upgrade it and make it all work. So we had a developer that we had to work with, and so it was not do it in the future, doing that next year or another time. That would be something that we prioritize as top priority, and I could get done, in a few days. But because there was some dependencies and stuff like that.
Okay.
It's all situational dependent.
Okay.
Raises that migration, how much time are you gonna need, like doing anything else?
Well, usually, yes.
But that's where, it's probably not appropriate for public comment, but we're gonna wanna be able to shift around a little bit more, because right now everyone wants everything.
Yes.
That is not real, and it's frustrating. So.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And just a quick observation, we had a pretty successful convention a couple months ago. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the meeting, but just wanted to let everybody know that we had a very fluid, dynamic sales and marketing process. We were changing things on the fly based on our numbers, based on what's happening. And I just want to personally thank you because, I did a lot of emailing, there were a lot of one-offs that I had to ask you about, changing to the specifications, upgrades to packages. We were doing things and making decisions on the convention committee that the CRM and the website didn't necessarily do. So I just want to thank you, because I did ask you for one-offs from time to time. I know you're busy, but you were able to handle those and efficiently and publicly.
Yep, thank you for your work. And that just triggers a memory of I know there was maybe a case where we were given, like, tell us your goal rather than giving us how we should do it. And there's a lot of that of like, they said, well, maybe this is how we want to do it. And it ended up working, but it's much more, just step back, tell us the goal, give us a chance to give you a solution, then send it back. Does that actually work? Then we a little bit more planning, of course.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Andy. Very appreciative of your time. So moving on from the operational side of our staff to the all-important development side of our staff. We've already talked about how important the revenue growth is, how important pledge member growth is, and of course we have a team charged with ensuring that those priorities are met. Because of the meeting schedule around the convention, not incorporating this kind of staff reporting time for those short meetings, and the last LNC not having a Q1 meeting, in spite of being on our team for quite a while now, it occurs to me this is actually my introduction of Gabrielle Cordova to this this body and to those of you who tune into these LNC meetings. Gabrielle comes to us with a wealth of nonprofit fundraising experience. She joined our development team and very quickly moved up and slotted into the role of development director, where she has been working for several months now. She has been absolutely fantastic. I don't think there is a donor or person in this party I am aware of that does not just absolutely adore Gabby. And she has really, really helped us to come through a pretty tough revenue time and come through it strong. So with that, Gabrielle, come on up here with the development report.
Yes, so I am very excited to be my first full report as development director. It's just been a couple of months since our convention in Reno, but a lot has happened in that time. You can reference my report for any numbers. I'm happy to take any questions at the end. Our numbers have been very strong over the past couple of months, as June alone surpassed $200,000 in donations.
Wow.
We have gained a lot of new donors and quite a few lifetime donors. This is all great, but I do want to bring up two things moving forward. One is that the average gift size is down from last year being $60 to this year being $44. And the second is that the overwhelming majority of our fundraising numbers since convention have come in the form of membership donations. So moving forward, for average gift size, our goal will be to steward these donors. And thank you to those of you who came to the office yesterday to start this process and paid membership renewal costs. Thank you very much. So what that means is we need to turn small 25-year average donors into either $60 year donors or greater, or into monthly donors. And as for membership, so while the excitement is still in the air and we're still getting new membership pledges, it's important that we start transitioning into other revenue areas to keep our financials high. So ballot access, candidate support, affiliate support, and just as an example, we're about $10,000 away from our ballot access goal for 2022. And so with many battles that states are fighting, it's more routine. So in my report, you can see who has already contributed to writing fundraising appeals. So thank you to everyone who's already written one. And I encourage all of you to work with our team to do so. And we welcome new ideas and writers. Please contact myself or Drew. He has been fantastic. He's taken on the role as appeal manager. And if you have any questions, please reach out to either one. So two more things. I saw some of you at Freedom Fest, and thank you to my fellow staff members and and members of our board for volunteering at a booth. So, many of you know that we did have an event there, our Lifetime of Liberty reception, and we raised money. And what was more important is that there were current or potentially large donors at that event, and we were able to speak with them and meet with them. And part of my strategy moving forward is to include more of those personal meetings with our large donors and keep them to keep donating to us. Lastly, I want to talk about the Money Bomb fundraiser. In my report, I brought up that I do have some changes that I feel should be made if we want to do this again. I want to be clear that I support trying new initiatives, and it's great to open up as many avenues for potential revenue as possible. But I do have some ideas on how to move that moving forward, so I'm happy to discuss that. Keep that again. Just to close out, I'm really excited about the progress that we have made, and I'm looking forward to the second half of the year playing. I'm happy to answer questions. Go ahead.
I think, first of all, we can all attest to the incredible spirit and positivity that exists in our fundraising efforts now. The open nature of the office, how approachable it is to work with you and your crew. It's outstanding, and it's so needed. Folks who I've served with on the LNC before know this is a sort of outstanding question. Other political organizations of our size, and quite frankly bigger, employ event-based fundraising. Some abomination happens in the United States Senate, and I get all my soccer accounts, I get 5 different requests from Bernie asking for $10 or $15. Any thoughts on that going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. Something that we've already discussed is, so I'm trying to remember, they're trying to pass a bill to legalize marijuana federally. And we've already talked about having an appeal go out about the war on drugs, and not only marijuana, but expanding to all drugs. So things like that, and things are coming up all the time in the news and events and things like that, and we're trying to figure out if we get someone to write something, or we write something, put something together to try to make an ask based on it.
So you're able to combine our messaging with also an ask.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time we send an email out, we're always trying to figure out where can we put this news. This is important for ballot access, or can support affiliate support.
That's excellent, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mark Cowan. When I left the convention in Reno, I was on the bus and I was talking about this $50,000 debt we had. Everybody was horrified by that. Was really ready to help with that. And so I called you and other people and said, this is a perfect opportunity for a bond fundraiser. And in my opinion, had we, that week sent out a bond to the membership and said, look, we need $5 from we need this money, we need $50,000 to pay off this debt. Now that was a perfect opportunity, in my opinion, to within 3 weeks have gotten $50,000. And we missed that opportunity because my idea wasn't taken up. Blah, blah, blah. So what I'm saying, I'm not saying, boy, I really wish my idea had been taken up. I wish my idea had been taken up. We missed an opportunity there. Others will come along.
Yes.
And we need to be quick on that. We need to be quick on the draw and not waste the opportunity to get $50,000 to pay that debt.
No, absolutely.
That's all.
And we are currently a little short-staffed, so it's
I'm not blaming you.
No, I know, and your idea was great. It was great, and it was
No,
an
you and I are on the same page
opportunity.
with that.
It was an opportunity, and those opportunities will come up. And I know we'll be quick and on the ball. Then, hopefully I can expand my team at some point. But for now, no, thank you. That was it. And another thing was, I don't know how much we wanted to publicize the debt to our membership and our donors, but yeah, those opportunities will come up again. Hopefully we'll just thank you.
Would you mind discussing your feedback on the Money Bomb project?
Sure. So a couple of things.
Again, this is the Bitcoin project?
This was, yes. So the first thing was for the thermometer. I felt we could have started it. Our goal in our minds would have been 2 Bitcoin, 30,000, 40,000. Now I think it's 50,000. It's gone up. But I think we could have started the thermometer at 10,000 And then once we saw we were, reaching that 8,000, 9,000, then like major push, we're so close, we're right there, we really hype up our donors. Another thing we could have done is make sure we had donors who were ready to give right then and there. So we said, okay, now's the time, let's do it. Or they could make the donation and we could on the back end push it out whenever we wanted to. But make sure we have that donorship. And that comes up really for anything too. When we're doing a match, we know that there's a donor willing to give a large amount of money. And we can take that money at any point. We don't have to wait until we have, let's say it's a $2,500 amount. We don't have to wait until we have 2,500 donors to get that from that major donor. We can have it at any point, and then we want to push out, hey, we have a generous donation, we want to do match. And, yeah, so those are, I'm excited to do something with this thing.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, okay, is there anything else you need to make your job easier, successful, anything you need to do?
Well, we talked a little bit yesterday about the information CRM, the CRM, so we can. Okay. Yeah. And I actually did the schedule of this yesterday.
Okay. You got it. You're welcome.
So just to be clear, I don't know.
Yeah.
So that little conversation there,
Yes.
you're saying that for development, you need the CRM to work better.
So right now, I'm mostly in Razor Jet NXT. I'm mostly in there. But when donations come in, they go right into the city CRM. And so there's a little bit of sometimes a little bit of a delay. Donations getting to batch that goes through from cities to Razor's Edge. So I'm kind of switching between the two right now.
So you're hamstrung your efforts until that gets fixed.
A little bit, not, yes, somewhat. It's not crazy, but it's decided, okay, does mean want to send out from Razor's Edge, should we get sent out sending?
More like a persistent hiccup.
Yeah.
A barrier, kind of like a regulatory barrier.
So how can we make your job easier in that regard?
Well, as far as Razor and City, or
As far as it, so we have essentially two sets of products. How can we make it better for you? Do you prefer that we migrate off of Razor's Edge and have one city CRM that does everything? Do you want to keep Razor's Edge and just somehow make the integration better? What makes your job easier?
I would like there to be just one, and like to have spiders and experience. It's just one CRM. Organization uses definitely uses so, and that's the hope. We have a little bit of a timeline, and it's just a little bit, but the team's been great, and he's been great at helping out, and we need to go some day-to-day things. He's been doing some training with us, so.
I see Mr. Krauser mentioned
Oh.
attention.
Yeah.
Is this a question for Gavin or
This is just a operational thing.
Yes.
Because of our new sound system, if everybody could just speak really clear and try to speak up a little bit. We did try an experiment with the mic, but there's a really bad echo on the feed with the microphone. So just a reminder for everybody, when you're speaking, speak up, speak loud, speak towards the center of the room where the machine is, the thing with the big eyes. And keep some of the talk in the background low, because you could really, the machine has 3 mics built in and 3 cameras. So let's say I'm sitting over here and I'm unwrapping candy. It's going to pick up that sound and it's going to focus on me unwrapping candy, and you don't want that to happen. So I closed the doors because there were several people out there talking, and I saw the camera and the microphone was focused right on me and the door, and I'm like, oops, okay, I better go close that. So I'm checking it often. We're trying to keep things as quiet as possible for the audience so that they can hear who's ever speaking. So just speak up, speak loud, speak clear, and towards the center. Thank you.
Thank you,
All right, and thank you, Gavin.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, so before moving on to the next section, I do want to briefly touch on the comms report. We are, of course, at the moment without a national communications director, and moving from comms into political, also without an activism coordinator. So this seems an appropriate time for me to acknowledge and appreciate the years of service and tremendous professionalism from our former comms director, Becca Congdon, who of course also worked as part of our hardworking development team for part of her tenure, and our activism coordinator, Michelle McCutcheon, who similarly worked as part of our membership and development team for part of her tenure, and were both big parts in both of those roles of our success in 2021, and I'm sure will do well in their next endeavors. Thank you. Continuing then into the political section of the report, Andy Burns mentioned earlier Kara Schultz in building up political infrastructure and what a tremendous focus that has been in the past year and a half, where we've really shifted focus to a more infrastructure-based focus. Kara Schultz.
All right, I'll just read my report verbatim. No. I just have a couple things to highlight. When I started in my position, I could not send out an email to our candidates. Like that, there was not a method that existed for me to do that. Not only that, I did not have a database I could even put them in. So we've come a long way. When I think back on those days of, what the hell do you mean I can't send it? You know, and I'm loading, like I'm using a spreadsheet and loading people into a contacts helper to try to get my job done. So we have come a long way in a lot of our processes. Much of the work that we do is not sexy, but it's really needed because it's those foundational pieces. And so my job has shifted from directly recruiting candidates for states to trying to train our candidates and campaign teams, training our affiliate leadership, whether that's at the county, at which I have seen many of these faces at these trainings, at the county level or at the state level. And also looking for ways to make what we're doing sustainable. You know, we want to keep that going and build on it. We don't want to keep having get up to a level and then just drop again. So that's what we're trying to do moving forward. In my report, I will be reaching out, as I noted in here, to all of you. And this is actually a fun project. And it's a project you're going to enjoy. Most of your projects, you're not going to enjoy. But this one you will enjoy. So when our candidates run for office, one of the things I instituted, and this was after the first election cycle that I worked, and you know, candidates and their teams and supporters get very siloed in just their tiny area. They don't, number one, see successes that were happening elsewhere, and now we're looking to highlight those. But the other thing was, when you run for office and you win, your phone rings off the hook. When you don't, you're the loneliest damn person on here. And so what happened is we had a lot of candidates run. Their phone didn't ring. They felt very alone. And we lost a lot of them as members. Not just the candidates, but their campaign teams. And these were good people, good activists. So we instituted an aftercare program. My goal each election is that candidates receive a call within ideally 24, but sometimes it's 48 hours, thanking them for the sacrifice they made in running for office. And thanking them for putting those ideals and solutions forward in their communities. I also sent handwritten notes to every single one of them, thanking them. This is quite the endeavor. I thank our chair, because she's a glutton for punishment, and has agreed to write some of these thank you notes with me. I will not make the rest of you write these thank you notes, but what I will ask you to do is to be part of our team to make these calls. Don't be hesitant thinking, I don't know what to say to this person. You say thank you. And a lot of times they tell you the really good, awesome things that happened during their campaign that you wouldn't have heard of otherwise. Like, I didn't win, but I stood up a county affiliate, and now we have 14 members in this county affiliate. Or, I didn't win, but I was running a joint campaign with this other candidate, and because of our combined efforts, they did win. So there's tons of things like that that you will hear. It's a fantastic experience. So I will be contacting you shortly. Well, shortly in election cycles, so that you can get on board. And there'll be a spreadsheet. Regional reps often look within their area, and if they want to contact people within their area. I will not give you an onerous number of people to contact. It'll be a doable number. So that is one thing that I will be contacting you for. Day of Education was wildly successful. We asked people to change a behavior, which is Thursday's travel day. Like, people have been coming to convention a long time. Thursday's travel day. And we asked them to change a behavior that would incur them extra expense, which would be another night of hotel, another night of meals, another day of meals. So we did well over twice the number of people we expected. And in fact, people who weren't even registered came to the Day of Education. They were registered for the convention, so just not for Day of Education. And that is why some of the negative feedback that we got was actually really positive, because it was, man, there's standing room only in this class. No, I'll take that all damn day. I'll take that all day. That is fantastic. But the feedback that we did receive was just overwhelmingly positive on that. And these are the infrastructure things that we're trying to incorporate. Regional training in the odd years so that we can get out to these areas, because not everyone can travel to the national convention. And then a different type of more in-depth training at our national convention. And keeping that going, not having these be one-offs. So that this is just something that becomes part of our culture, that we are always looking to continuously improve. Whether you're running for office or you're running your state affiliate or county affiliate. That's what we're looking to do. I do have feedback, I do have suggestions for next year. We all hit on one of the suggestions, which is we got to do registration and credentialing a little differently, especially with how that was impacting the Day of Education. But we have time to work that out. So we will work that out. We are prepping for regional training. So I will be contacting region reps. This is how we did it last time as well. It is the region rep will call a meeting of their state chairs. I will meet with them, the region rep and alt. I show love to the alts too. Will be part of these meetings, and they get to decide the state and the date. And we're trying to get them between January and May, but they get to choose because they're participating. This is not something we're imposing, we're partners in this. And that's how I want to build this relationship, which is a partnership. So I will be contacting you for that, so that we can get those going. We'll do that after the November election because that's where everyone's focus is right now. And that's where a lot of my focus is right now, because I will be hitting my time of year where campaigns are having interpersonal difficulties within the campaign, and then they call me for love, and I give them no love and tell them to suck it up and do it. So that's the period we're entering. And then I do have the plan of work update. One thing that is getting ready will be coming before you sometime fairly soon in the future. We have a ton of records from the Joe Jorgensen campaign. By ton, I mean like 30 million. They need to be worked, and they need to be worked by multiple departments, not just my area. I know Gabby wants to crack at them. This is our sweet spot. But we will need to append that data because it's years old now. It's nowhere near as expensive to append data as it is to purchase data. But we're going to get some quotes on that and put that before you. What I'm going to be using it for is for policy message testing at the local level, because we're looking for our next year's election cycle, right? So you have your local candidates, community and counties, right? And this is looking at what policies in their area do voters care about? What are the issues, right? Because we can guess which sucks and is wrong, or we can find out what it is. And then once we find out what those are, then we look at which solution and which phrasing of that solution appeals better to that demographic in that area. That's one of the big asks we get from candidates and campaign teams, is help with that, identifying the issues and how to articulate it. So we'll be doing APCD, testing on that, and using that large database in a randomized fashion to do that type of testing. The rest is on my plan of work. Up to you for questions.
When you say we need to append the Joe Jorgensen,
Sure. So what it means is you update of, do they actually still live there? People move, Are they dead?
Right.
Are we missing an email? Are we missing a phone number? Is there other data that can be put into there, such as issues they care about, which way they lean, income level? There's just a ton of information that can be put onto that. So it's updating and correcting, and then also filling in blanks that we have.
So on that subject, so these are third-party database companies essentially that sell this commercially?
Oh, you bet, yep.
And
It's an appalling amount of information that these companies have.
And where do they get their data? How do they know what I claim as an income to?
Multiple places. It truly is awful how much information there just is out there about you. Like every single contribution you have made to any organization, if it is a nonprofit organization, that information is out there.
Is that Google capturing that and then selling it to these data aggregators and then they sell it to us?
It's all of them, and it's Facebook, and it's the birds.
Okay.
It is the birds. I mean, it's trade associations, it's realtors, it's the bank. It's just unreal.
Well, and some of it's federally required, I think, actually, that say once a year we're required to confirm this information, or somebody's going through that now personally, and they just automatically hit, okay, here, and move on, and that ends up being sold. If even though it's required, I have to tell me I have to do it, and then, okay, so
All kinds of
I apologize for my, being the oldest guy in the room, that you all probably know this, and don't agree that this is all.
Who's the oldest guy?
Oh, you're so much younger than I am, sure. Okay, sorry.
Pat just feels old.
And I'm a data guy from back in the analog days, and so I worry about, what's the integrity of the data and
I was brought up on DOS, so I understand. Any other questions? All right, well, let's have a gas election.
Like your energy.
I've really got to learn how to go out on a applause line. So, Robert, are you dialing Apollo now?
Yes. I think he is in, driving in nowhere.
So Apollo's father just got out of hospital, so he is not here right now, he's taking care of his elderly father.
Yes, yes. And between that and the campaigns that he is managing for us in a great many places with very little self-reception, we'll see if we can raise him. There is a written report. I will be the bad guy so that he doesn't have to, and point out that at this point in the campaign cycle, there may be a great deal of information that is sensitive to political strategy, and so oftentimes is not included either in written reports or these public conversations. But nonetheless, I'm sure if he is raisable, that he will be happy to address the body.
Hello, Apollo, how are you?
I'm well, sir. How are you?
Good, we can hear you loud and clear. You have the LNC here.
Wonderful. I'm very sorry that I'm not able to attend in person. This is the first LNC that I have attended in person. Unfortunately, I had a family situation that prevents me from being there. I am also currently driving to a few business meetings and going to some fairly remote areas. That's difficult for me. My report, as you have seen, we are holding campaigns, door knocking, working with candidates on their campaigns, their messaging, their data, their work, their overall strategy, fundraising, the whole nine yards. We are our team was more challenging as their team higher and difficult. We are paying less than the average cost for our field campaign. So it has been hard to retain field use. And but we are working out the field right now. Their current state of rate is good news. We have candidates that I'm currently looking candidates in these 6 states, and I'm always going to answer questions for any of the candidates that might need assistance or able to contact me. And I'm not sure how much longer I'll have you guys. I'll go ahead and answer questions that I have.
Thank you, Mr. Pizzell. I will call out questions for Mr. Pizzell if anybody has them.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear. I apologize.
Robert, you may want to echo, there are no questions.
There are no
We
questions.
express a great deal of appreciation for Mr. Pizzell and the work that he is doing in the field, and we are excited for November.
We are excited for November and completely appreciative of you. Take care and drive safe.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, I don't know how we've done on the 90 minutes, but hopefully we have come in pretty well. I did promise one last bite at the apple for anyone who had any other questions for me or any other members of staff. Otherwise, I will just say again, what an honor it has been. Mr. Nana?
Well, I just want to say I really appreciate the service that you provided to us. And think you've done a wonderful job. Sad to see you go. And maybe we can bring you back in the future in some capacity. Yeah, just thank you so much. And I think you deserve a standing ovation.
You're doing 4 chairs in those years. That's pretty impressive.
I have to have set an LP land speed record in that regard. But thank you, Mr. Nana, and thank you all. That's very deeply touching. And I don't know what it says about some flaw in my character, but God help me, I absolutely love this. And so I'm sure all of our paths will continue to cross, and we'll cross again. Thank you very much.
committee floor, we're way ahead of schedule, which is awesome. I'm gonna give you two options. We're gonna just stand in these for 5 minutes for a short bathroom break,
Yes.
or we can recess for 10 minutes, but I'd rather, 5 or 10? 10? Okay, anybody want to make a motion to recess for 10 minutes?
Motion to recess for 10 minutes.
Any objections?
This will be on, will continue online, so
Yes.
we're gonna be on the
Yes.
internet during the break.
Any objections? No? Okay. Motion passes, we're in recess for 10 minutes.
Yeah, I'm sure it's.
And I'm like, oh, like I go up to these meetings and like, I'm really interested in seeing what you're. Yeah.
You are getting it, like, I'm at better zone, I'm also going to say that, like, you're not happy enough. You know what I mean? Like, you know, science, not like software.
Like right now, I'm yeah, activate and keep motivation up through failure. That's the thing. Like how do those systems work? How does that work in the business sphere? How do we work those cultural structures?
So tired last night, I slept.
And it's like,
closed
here with your two old for that, yeah, that's and then on the other side, something that I think is interesting, there's two different areas of messaging. There's both messaging, which is responsive, and then there's natural messaging, which is
as far as I know what it was.
and I love the novels, and we're starting to be a little more sophisticated with, okay.
That might be a question of.
It's planned and necessary, and there it is. Really gross. Well, I mean, I'm like, well, let's find out what works, but then bring that naturally to the state. But if it's on a local level, if you're trying to regulate the local level, it's not very effective too. It's too intense. And which actually makes sense.
Oh, he just passed it out.
Yeah.
Okay, so I utilize it. Like in the state, so there's only so much you can do with it, but I do like what we have. I think that's probably the same. I think that's awesome.
That's all. Okay, so to increase utilization.
Yeah, and we just haven't done that in time, so I think that's where a lot more people would appreciate it. But it is also. Yeah.
What's extremely all the tax things, I don't care about
Yeah, I mean.
Sure, one of the arguments from the funds, there are a lot more features and benefits. One, for fundraising, the other for.
I just want to make the most out of this.
No, I mean, that's fine. That's always, okay, together on fundraising.
Yeah, I mean, if you can celebrate and make it more successful. And also too, like, I just want to know that every year, organizations. So it's like,
You raised the right question, basically. The bigger question is talking about the.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those.
Because I feel like, so, I know Raiders did. We were at the fundraising aspect. And it's basically like, so like, why city has like affiliates, as an affiliate, that's where you get some information. And so this does have like people like, anything going. So they're kind of doing the same thing that actually the other requires. So it's like, I've already poured a lot of like personal investment into this. So I can say that I agree with it. But I'm also very
No, that's why. Yeah, sure, it's about better, given our size and that, you know, we all had exposure together, so large organizations. We can melt it down and save the country with all that going on.
Doing well, so, yeah, flights got played delayed yesterday, so I got to the hotel at almost 2 days. Thursday. Yeah. It was actually in DFW because it's a direct flight, but the picture is that we haven't had rain in like 2 months, and then the popcorn decided to, and the funny thing is it didn't even really rain, but the air got really unstable, aloft. Yeah.
Yesterday, I went from Arkansas to DFW, and right as I got in there, they started announcing delays. I came back, so I was like, this is not gonna. It happened after I boarded, they were like, yeah, we're not gonna.
Yep. Yeah, they had some cancellations. They had a perfect flight from Seattle down to Boston. So, and then that crew was supposed to get on another flight to San Diego. Absolutely. All that.
1 minute for that.
Yeah. I do think well, yeah, that's the thing. So we haven't done on the state party. And they're using that for fundraising. Right now, counting and that's actually a very interesting dynamic.
I'll make it do it. Oh, you guys. There we go. I want to work separate right now, so feedback, I'm so sorry. All right. It's not 7:40, 10:40. We're back in order. So, welcome back. Where are we at right now? We just finished staff reports. Now, there's a couple of things up next on our agenda. Break for lunch, 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. It is clearly not 12 p.m. After that is council's report, and then there are regional reports. Mr. Kraus, do you know if Mr. Hall is available now, or should we maybe count?
Not until 4 p.m. tomorrow,
4 p.m. tomorrow.
as he's traveling.
Okay, so.
He has no regular report otherwise.
Okay. Should we skip this, or do we need to amend the agenda right now?
What I think we should do is move to agenda, make a special order for 4 p.m. tomorrow. I'm making a motion.
I'll second.
To make council's report a special order for 4 p.m. tomorrow.
Okay,
Second.
okay, I believe this requires 2/3. Right, because it's already been adopted.
Or without objection.
Right, so we're gonna see. Any discussion? Any objection? Okay, no objection, okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? No, okay, so that's unanimous. Fantastic, thank you, that motion passes. So council's report will be heard tomorrow at 4 p.m. The next item on the agenda is regional reports. Technically, the next item on the agenda is lunch, but it is not lunchtime yet.
Madam Chair, I would move that we receive regional reports at this time.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. We move to regional reports at this time. Any further discussion? Any objection? Going once, going twice, hearing none. We're going on to regional reports that which is adopted. Region 1, are you ready? Do you need me to talk slowly? No, you're done. Okay. Come on up.
Wow, good morning, everyone. So excited to be here. Yeah, really good energy. So I'm very grateful to be part of this board. My name is Miguel Duque, Region 1. I'm the Region 1 representative. Our alternate, Ms. Kathy Inescavich, is my partner in crime in Region 1, which reformed just before Reno or leading up to the recent national convention. Reformed from being quite a large region, the largest geographically and in number of member states, to now having 7 member states, which are Washington, or actually, it's Arizona, Colorado, Kansas, Nebraska, Nevada, Oregon, and Washington. And so it is still quite large geographically. And nonetheless, we have even better clarity and sense of unity behind why we're a region and what we're setting out to achieve. And so just to kind of maybe touch on either highlights or additions to the report that I submitted, which I would love for anyone viewing, or participating here to refer to my report that was submitted, and particularly if you look at the one that I sent to the LNC business email list, the PDF, that will have clickable URLs, links, which I would encourage everyone to check out because you can view the websites of our candidates. I would be so grateful for everyone to go see the great candidates in Region 1. Many are in very viable campaigns, and so they can certainly use all the support they can get, including both fundraising or donations as well as volunteering. I had one addition to that you won't see in my report was that I had a request for some volunteers for our Arizona candidates, particularly the write-in candidates, of which there are 4 write-in candidates, and the reason that they're really gunning to get just over, at least the figure was just over 3,000 write-ins, is that will get them onto the general election ballot, which will help the Arizona Libertarian Party maintain major party status in Arizona. So I did get a request for anyone, really anywhere you are, even outside of Region 1, if you can help make some quick phone calls, then our folks down in Arizona have a list ready to go and a script. And I would encourage anyone this weekend, because their primary is happening August 2nd, which is Tuesday, to reach out to me. You can email me, miguel.uk@lp.org. Some other additions I didn't mention, my gratitude for Kathy having stepped up to be on the PCC. It's not exactly a regional item, though I think probably our regional members would be happy to know that she's representing us on the employee policy and compensation committee. So she's helping with making our staff the very best they can be at national. And aside from that, we just have a lot of really good updates from our member states. They've been hard at work hosting events of all kinds. Booths at state fairs is a big effort in Kansas right now, and doing all kinds of really good social events. Washington has been doing trainings on how to 3D print firearms and accessories, magazines. So that's pretty based. And what else? Yeah, those were kind of some of the main highlights. Oh, we have a Discord for our region now. I was able to compile a list of our 2022 delegates, alternates, and all of the state affiliate leadership. And that is kind of the starting point for Discord and a MailChimp that I set up so that I can just really easily keep our region folks updated. But everyone who's a member of the party in Region 1 is very much invited to join the Region 1 Discord and the MailChimp newsletter, which can be found linked in my report. So, happy to take questions. And you can see nice pictures in the report. Try to pepper in a little bit of humor. Never forget WTC7. Building 7. I did not. That's like 2010s or all right. Any questions? Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Okay, up next we have Region 2.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So I'm Dave Benner, Region 2 Rep. I represent Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, and Alabama. Pleased to kind of articulate a rough synopsis of the report I shared on the business list. Starting with Tennessee, volunteer state. I'm biased. I'm from Tennessee, live in Nashville. The Libertarian Party has been engaging in really key races in our state, including the governorship. We have Michael Wilson pushing a ballot access fight at the state level as well. We've listed all of our candidates, but shout outs to Stephen Chambers, Erica Abel, Joey Dassinger, Dustin Tubbs, Cody Nix, David Tyler, Cole Abel, Nick Sawwall, David Jones, and Michael Wilson, who I already talked about. The state refuses to acknowledge our ballot access claim, even though it guarantees that the Tennessee Constitution. Just throw it by the wayside and abnegate it, says the state. So we will step in and fight that. The LPTN is also the planning stage of our next convention. And the communications team, that's my baby. I am the communications director of Tennessee. Our Twitter account is now the third most followed affiliate. Very proud of that. Shout out to Adam Fargo for my affiliate. And our TikTok is now the second most followed affiliate TikTok. Shout out to Cody Flores. For Georgia, we have Martin Callan here from Georgia, the Peach State. They have some great things going on too. They've had 2 recent videos that have been very well produced, that have been put out at the state level. We've retweeted on the national. They've also hosted a Bitcoin fundraiser that's attracted new attendees and helped people learn about one of the avenues that we would support to nullify the Fed, and that's really exciting. Another thing is their former chair, Ryan Graham, actually just told me as of yesterday, they've submitted their ballot access lawsuit to the Supreme Court of the United States. So we're looking to see where that goes. One of the plaintiffs is sitting in front of us in that fight. So well done, Martin County. As far as the Sunshine State goes, we have contributions from Steve and Michaela. Told me that they're excited to run their campaigns, including Hector Roos for governor. There's also lots of great candidates. So I'll just give some few shout outs to those in Jacksonville, Eric Parker and Tracy Robinson. Lots of great candidates there. They've also leveraged Agility PR to promote their state affiliate. That's kind of a new thing they're very excited about. And they've hired a development director, Anthony Welty. Many of us are familiar with him, I'm sure. So they're very excited about how they can bring the message out with him, help support candidates, and help get people into the party in various spots. Alabama has some exciting things too. The establishment is not ready for Alabama. They have really done a lot of great things. They've gotten ballot access for the first time in 22 years. I maintain very consistent communication with Gavin Goodman, their chair. They have 65 total candidates running for a fairly small affiliate. It's very impressive, especially because many of the candidates are only running against a single challenger. They really have feasibility to win some of these elections, and I'm here for it. It's really exciting. Mississippi legalized medical marijuana in February, but some of the mayors and supervisors and sheriffs are trying to kind of establish dry counties. And so to combat that, a lot of their members are actually doing door knocking. They're doing on-the-ground activism to thwart this at the local level, which is awesome. And the Mississippi CD4 incumbent lost his primary. So Alden Johnson, their candidate in that race, now has a fighting chance. So that's the candidate they're really galvanized behind. So that's the one they want to support. So I've gone through all 5 states for their contributions. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, Jeff.
First off, I just want to say you have 2 of the hardest ballot access states in your region, in Alabama and Tennessee. So I just want to go on the record and say that I'm very proud to see what Alabama has done. It's amazing. My 4 years on the board, we've put a lot of money into trying to get those states ballot access. But are you aware of Tennessee do they have any asks coming up for ballot access?
I need to talk with Dave Jones about that. He is very interested in having asked for it, but it's how he wants to pitch it and formulate it. But I will be working with them. LaMichael Wilson on the gubernatorial campaign, he's a write-in candidate. He did not need a signature requirements, but he's taking the fight to the state directly there. But I believe they will have some aspects of it.
Yeah, Tennessee's hard.
It's really hard. You're telling me, man, it's really hard. It's really rough there. Yes.
If they do decide that they want to make an ask for ballot access, please send them my way. I've developed the ballot access committee who will help them reform the new fine grant so that we will likely pass.
Sure, can I ask you, is there a form that requests still go through, or would that be kind of the decision?
No,
that
it's
you-
a little less formal than that, you know, we can just email, and see if we can official, we can just update the list. I think it's just ballot access stuff. Ballot access at LP.org. So if you send that, it'll go to everybody on my committee, and we'll probably invite them to the meeting. We can help them hash, they can give us like their rough ideas, we can help them formulate a plan, and then we get sent people.
Thanks so much for that.
Absolutely.
Anything else? Yes,
First question, you mentioned Florida is leveraging agility PR. What is agility PR and how are they doing?
Yeah, I don't fully understand it, and I wish Mr. Nicaila was here to explain it. He was going to actually talk about this in the agenda. It's one of the removed items, but it's just a way to broadcast the presence of the party and earn more PR.
So is that an entity, a company?
It's a system. It's a solution essentially, and I think a few other states may be kind of in a compact with them to do it. And some of the, I think the other states that he's working with are actually outside of my region, but I hope he brings more information on that in front of us in the future. I'm sorry that I can't speak. Mr. Turgevich.
Time has expired. Want to keep going?
Move to keep discussion moving?
Or? Nope. No. Okay.
Thank you all.
Okay, so sorry about that. Region 3.
I'll let him do it since he wrote it.
Hello, everybody. Thankfully, Region 3 is pretty stable as far as our ballot access. We're still going through issues in Ohio, collecting signatures at this point. But with Dustin, it's after the primary, the signature requirement goes down.
After the general election.
Okay.
In November.
Gotcha. So, going through the list, Indiana has nominated 35 candidates that will be on the ballot. Their Senate candidate, James Seniak, will be included in both of the televised debates that will be broadcast on statewide TV. Our candidates in Indiana actually joined the Democrats, holding 17 town hall meetings across the state, which the Republicans refused to participate in. And Indiana just simply asks our body to continue supporting the CRM project and keep Ken and Andy happy and fully supported. And so, obviously, Indiana is a huge part of testing as a test bed of some of these projects, and so want to keep them happy. In Kentucky, they're still filling leadership positions. They're currently working on building phone banking infrastructure, and with the goal of being fully supported and tested by 2024. They'll need to collect 5,000 signatures per race to run for statewide offices in 2023, and they'll likely need assistance in 2024 to get the presidential candidate ballot. In Michigan, at the conclusion of our July 9th nominating convention, we nominated 46 candidates and endorsed 2 nonpartisan candidates. And we have built new affiliates in Lapeer County, and we are working on another affiliate in the Tri-City, Saginaw Bay City, and Midland area. And lastly, Ohio. Going through the disaffiliates in dormant counties, gathering folks for new ones. They have 5 fully functional affiliates, and they have 13 with enough people to become affiliated. We already talked about their ballot access initiative. Dustin, what's your likelihood of executing that successfully?
Well, 0 this year. I mean, we're not going to collect $60 now. A couple months from now. It's just what it is. But thankfully, the way our ballot drive works, we know every one of us in the ballot access report, there's technically no deadline. So we can collect signatures during an indefinite period, and depending on when we turn the minutes for our ballot access, we can get access gubernatorial, and then we have to achieve 3% of one of those elections within the block. So, as you touched on, the gubernatorial election takes place, that number will go down. It's based on 1% of all of the votes cast in the most recent gubernatorial presidential election. And so long as not as many people voted in the gubernatorial election as did in the 2020 presidential, that number will go down. So, plan would be to file before 2024.
So Ohio's also in the planning stages for their 2023 spring conference, which they're trying to make a regional event. I mean, I'm sure we'll have discussions on it, but I would think regional training would be in order. So it's a spring event. So do we have an approximate timeline?
The later in the spring, because we don't want it to conflict with the state event.
All right, that concludes our Region 3 report.
Thank you.
I could ask earlier, but you listed all the candidates in Michigan, but have not been again. Do you know if they're all rainwater living there?
I do not.
Personally,
I was not given the Indiana list, but yes. Thankfully, I drafted a actual press release for Michigan, so I had the list handy, so I just figured
You're on that list too.
Yes. Yes, running for District 8 Oakland County.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Region 4.
Good morning, everyone. Carrie asked me if I'd go ahead and give this report. California is Region 4, right? So Carrie's been doing a great job. For those who are listening in, she's on the social media committee for the national. She's taken over the Instagram account, really revamped that, and did a great job there. I just wanted to point that out. Things to highlight for Region 4, we've got a lot of candidates, and I'd just like to kind of put those out there. We've got Tom Nichols running for State Assembly, District 8. In my county that I'm affiliated with, Jeff Hewitt is up for re-election for Riverside County Supervisor, District 5. We've got Shane Strawn for Hanford City Council, Francisco Ramirez, Hanford City Council, Amanda Saltry, Hanford City Council. Hanford's got a lot going on. Michael Lima, at-large seat on the Hayward City Council. Terry Miller, at-large seat on the Cypress City Council. Jeff Schwartz, at-large seat on the Thousand Oaks City Council. Kelly Carden, at-large seat, Rosamond Municipal Advisory Council. And then Roger Cohen, Redwood City Council. We're also having a fundraising event in September that I'd like to put out there, September 24th in Santa Nella at the Hotel Mission de Ora. And that's for the Candidate Support Committee to help all of these candidates in the November election. Any questions? No, then I will have a seat. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Region 5, you are up.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Andrew Watkins. I'm the Region 5 rep. And our alternate is David Dassing over here. So Pennsylvania was kind of left hanging. The previous leadership just kind of left after being unseated, and they were kind of struggling with fundraising. I believe they still are a little bit, but they just hired a new executive director, and I think they're still in talks about the contract. And I was able to talk to their membership director. She was having just trying to find her footing, and I was able to connect her with Delaware's outreach coordinator, and that kind of gave her a little bit of a boost. So that's something that I kind of would like to do moving forward with all of the states if they're lacking in one area. Kind of facilitate a conversation between the rest of them so they can exchange skill sets and ideas and stuff like that, and kind of empower them all and lift everybody up. Maryland, they got 9 candidates for office, and they have a really good governor candidate. I believe he's going to be here. Is that right? Today or tomorrow? Yeah. Cool. David Lasher. So there you go. West Virginia, as Travis mentioned for Will, they have a very viable state senate candidate in Austin Lynch. He's running against a very unpopular Republican who is just a one-on-one race, and they're hoping to get some support for national because it's pretty decent. It's winnable, it seems. DC has been pretty much revitalized. Some of you were able to hopefully meet Bruce Majors last night. He's a cool guy. He's been heading up DC pretty well. He's running for, I believe, mayor, I think. I'm trying to blanking on, I think, or maybe it's delegate. I think it's delegate he's running for. And he was able to find somebody to serve as vice chair until they have elections, stuff like that. Delaware is doing great with fundraising, and they have a couple of candidates also running. But they've been doing a lot of events. I think they're doing quarterly fundraisers. They have another one at the end of the summer and late next month. It's a barbecue brisket event. It's going to be fun, sounds like. They sponsored a race car about 2 weeks ago or a week ago, which was pretty cool to see. Other than that, we're still having some issues with the Department of Elections, but Angela and Mr. Drummond are helping them with that. In Virginia, we are still dealing with this rogue affiliate that is run by a bunch of neocons that used to roll up in the meetings wearing MAGA masks. Pretending to be, yeah, for real. And they're still going on media and promoting non-libertarian candidates under the name Tidewater Libertarian Party. So a lawsuit is underway against them. And then North Carolina has 28 candidates, which is great. They're starting to push against the ABC laws, which are no state. It's state-run liquor stores, which is insane. So they're starting to challenge those, and something that's really cool is a county affiliate started to pass out specific coasters with QR codes explaining why ABC laws are done and should be gotten rid of. So the bars have been taking them and using them. So it's a good way to get some exposure, and the state party is talking about adopting that statewide. And then some other things that they're working on, they're helping a homeless veteran that was arrested in October, and police were harassing him and tased his dog and separated them. And the video was released. They fought to have the body cam footage released, and that was released, I think, a couple days ago. It's what you would expect. So, and then they're also trying to get the source code for the election software in their state. And the Department of Elections is fighting against that, of course. But they're working with Spike with some other events going on. But that's about it. Any questions? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Eric Brownson from North Carolina. I just wanted to add a new development to the homeless vet and his service dog. We put so much pressure in the city of Gastonia that the chief of police was forced to resign because they were holding all of the body cam footage hostage and have caused such a huge issue over there. The police, chief of police in that city has resigned now, and it was a big win for us.
Can you flesh out a little more for those who are not familiar with the details on what are your legal options against fake libertarians?
Oddly enough, copyright. I know, it's like, I don't know. So I'm not really involved in the particulars of the lawsuit, but I would like to at least be there since I kind of lit the match on that about a year or two ago. I think it was about 2 years ago now.
Do they have meetings with your crash or
Oh,
something?
yeah.
Do they have this weekend?
No, so it's always the first and third Saturday.
That would be fun.
Yeah. It would be great. We have had members go to their meetings several times, and they've been sent cease and desist orders ever since they were disaffiliated. Several times they were ignored. So we've had members go to their meetings and pass them out because the chair of that affiliate was not telling, he didn't tell any of his board, he didn't tell any of the people that go to the meetings regularly. They were like, oh, I didn't know this, but it doesn't seem like they would care. Yep, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
The microphone is off, and some of our viewers, lovely pictures of everybody's face who's taller than I am, have been blocked by the light, so I just.
Thank you. Region 6?
Hello, everyone. Joseph Eklund, Region 6. At Region 6, we had a fairly dramatic convention where we were dissolved for a month and reconstituted ourselves and absorbed a bunch of other states and became the largest and most, we span geographically a large portion of the United States, not just contained, but also with satellites. We have, the main northern, Midwestern states, Wisconsin, Illinois, Minnesota, Iowa, North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, and then we have picked up Utah and South Carolina.
Weird.
Yeah,
We still Nebraska.
yeah, we had lots of shuffling. So we're, I think we could develop a better communication culture. We're still working on that, but we have some really great states that have been doing a lot of good work. As we've already worked with Illinois on ballot access, that was a successful thing we supported them with. They did an amazing job. They really rallied the troops, and they were largely successful. They only had, I just had a meeting, and Bill Redpath informed me that they had a little bit of a paper candidate for Secretary of State, I believe, what was his term? I forget. Secretary of State Jesse White, which is basically had the same name as their previous Secretary of State, and that was, it sounds like that's, they were challenged. I don't know the details. It wasn't, we're talking about that, but it sounds like that's a disappointing thing, but Bill is still on there and they're doing a great job there. In Wisconsin, we have Jake, who is challenged, and we and Angela helped establish the defense with Nicholas Flatley, my friend in Wisconsin, and we successfully overcame that challenge. And we've got my friend Neil Harmon running for our statewide. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. Some other things that were of note in South Carolina, they've been running this porcupine club, and they've already reached 75% of their budget goals for the year. And it's only, what, 6 months, 7 months in. South Dakota, their gubernatorial candidate will be debating Christino and Jamie Smith on air and in person in Rapid City on September 30th. So that will be something that will be really interesting for us as Libertarians to be broadcast there. And I don't know, there was a lot of states, and I didn't want to go over all the details of all of them, otherwise it would take a long time. So if you have any questions.
Yeah, you have New Mexico on your report, are they?
They are, so New Mexico, they were signed on with Region 6, for representation at national, but immediately following the convention or joint region, they decided to withdraw from the internal governance of Region 6. So essentially what that means is they don't participate in, communicating with the rest of the region, with me as the representative, that sort of thing. They are in a rather unique situation where they aren't then represented by default by the vice chair, but rather are still documented in Region 6, but aren't participating essentially with national and certain.
Well, I reached out to Lucci about a week and a half ago for a report, and he told me to get a hold of him after August 5th. So if you want me to take the reins on that, I can.
Yeah. Sure.
It's only we'll duke it out later, man.
But any other questions?
How's Jacob Van Class's campaign go?
Oh, well, he kicks ass. He's doing great. Yeah, he's really motivating the troops, and he is so busy doing events all the time. I think that as always, we could always do more.
Okay.
But isn't that always the case? We could always do more.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up we've got Region 7.
All right, hello everyone. I am here to represent the best region. That is Region 7, and I'm representative, and this is my alternate, Donnie McCanky. We comprise Arkansas, Louisiana, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Texas. We did drop Alabama, and we took Missouri at this last convention. I'm just going to go over some really brief highlights, just to supplement my report. So starting with Arkansas, really proud of Arkansas. I am from there, but we've done very well the last year or so. So our national party membership has been stable during 2022, but state dues paying membership up 25% since the start of the year. We went from the back of the convention hall at the national convention to the first blue table, like the third table. So I'm very proud about that. It's huge for us. We do have 55 candidates. It's also really big for us. Ballot access is secure, but 2024 is going to hinge on our governor candidate, Ricky Dale Harrington. We need 3% of the vote in order to keep ballot access. For Louisiana. So Louisiana is building affiliates right now. They have 12. They're working on 16 by the end of the year. They kind of have a low membership count right now, but we are working on that. Their qualifying has ended for the November election, and they have 12 libertarians who have qualified for various seats, which means they're going to be on the ballot. Missouri is actually we have a lot of candidates in our region, and we have a lot of lawsuits. So Missouri has an interesting one that they're working on that is sort of a gerrymandering situation. So that's their current battle. Oklahoma. So Oklahoma has 7 libertarian candidates that are going to be statewide races this year. So on every ballot, there's going to be 7. They're doing really well with affiliates, and they have fantastic candidates like Natalie Bruno, who is running in 2022 for the governor's seat. And in Texas. So Texas actually has 2 pending federal lawsuits. They have Miller versus Doe, which that is ballot access, and then they do have Bilyeu versus Esparza. So both challenging that. And in order to raise funds for those, they do have a really important legal fundraiser going on right now. I do have the hyperlink in the report. So we do share that regularly for everyone to see. They also have 75 candidates on the ballot. So we require a lot of candidate support in our region. So that's one thing that we are working on as a whole. It's one of our first projects that we've sort of talked about is going forth with trying to find different volunteers from, say, Arkansas to help, Louisiana or whatever. We're going to try to share that function best we can. And those are my most important highlights, I'd probably say. Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
Regarding the chair candidate, we know if there's been any early polling information.
Yeah, there's been some early polling. We're lucky because he ran for Senate last race, and so he did, and it was the incumbent, that was it. So he did get like 33%, I think, but two-way race. So yeah, this year, because of that name recognition, it's favorable. We do have a really popular Democrat that's running, and so he's actually, and then we have Sarah Huckabee Sanders. So they're kind of like monuments at this point. So this is going to look probably a lot worse than it did before, just because, various reasons. It's really hard to beat them, but he is doing really well.
Great.
Anyone else? Thank you.
All right, we've got Region 8 up next.
For folks I haven't met, please let's chat today. My name is Pat Ford. I am the regional representative for Region 8, which comprises New England, New York, and New Jersey. Joining me in a moment is Mr. Willie Hall, who is the alternate, and he's got a couple of things that he'd like to talk about as well. Let's reflect. It's been a challenging year for Region 8. As my good friend Rich Bowen can attest, if Region 8 has a motto, it would be adapt, improvise, and overcome. We are all aware of the controversy surrounding what I'll call the management issues at several Region 8 affiliates. I'm here to say to all of you that because of truly outstanding leadership at the affiliate level, those challenges are largely behind us and have been replaced with a fervor for liberty that frankly is astonishing to be a part of, particularly in America's bluest region. Our newest challenge, as you're probably aware of course, is ballot access. I'd like to point out the fact that the affiliates around the region and their newfound ability to promote great candidates, well, that's a great problem to have in the sense that we actually have ballot access challenges to overcome. I'm happy to report that volunteer ballot access efforts are at an all-time high, as is cross-state ballot support. We've had volunteers from Vermont go to New York, we've had New Yorkers go to Connecticut, we've had Rhode Islanders go to Maine, New Hampshire, and New York. And we're trying to encourage really a collegiality amongst the regions. Understanding that, particularly in Northeast and certain other parts of the country, we can't write a check for ballot access anymore. We have to really engender that sort of power and that commitment amongst the affiliate members to go out and get it done to whatever degree we can ourselves, so that we could spare our candidates the time and, quite frankly, the financial investment of the Libertarian Party in doing so. And that's going to be a significant project for Region 8, I think all of us across the nation in the coming months. Some specifics. New York continues its efforts on litigating ballot access. New Hampshire, under the leadership of Mr. Pelletier and Mr. O'Donnell, the LBNH has collected in excess of 5,900 signatures. Carlin, our gubernatorial candidate, is polling 8%, and Mr. Kaufman has raised privately in excess of $20,000 for his campaign. It's amazing the turnaround and the spirit that is in New Hampshire. If folks have questions regarding New York and New Hampshire, there are specific legal and strategic strategies in play. I would prefer to discuss those further in either private conversation and/or executive sessions. I'd like to finish up by talking about Rhode Island, which, as we all know, is in fact the birthplace of American liberty. Rhode Island has amongst the most difficult ballot access laws in the nation. You get two shots at it: 5% in the gubernatorial race, or you get to wait 2 years and get 5% of the vote in the presidential race. You're given a mere 9 days to collect 1,000 good signatures in America's smallest and bluest state. I would argue to you that for most of you, Rhode Island is about the size of your capital city. As you're probably aware, sadly, Rhode Island missed ballot status for candidate Elijah Guzarelli, and we all know Elijah, and we all know what an amazing candidate he would be, by a mere 50 signatures. This despite literally a heroic effort by dedicated volunteers in the LPRI, working until literally 10, 11 o'clock the night before the deadline to deliver all of our petitions to all of our communities. Let's file this under the category of turning lemons into lemonade. And to Ms. Harlow's comments about the power of earned media. Utilizing the Libertarian Party's finest in the nation earned media operation, Chairman Bill Hunt is steering a remarkable effort to illustrate the chaotic extra-legal operations of the state of Rhode Island in newspaper accounts, radio interviews, and blanketing social media through Libertarian, let's just say a few Libertarian-related organizations. The goal is to build a case with the public for substantial reform. His efforts are resonating. The point being to all of us is that so many times we've had to face these defeats and challenges. Let's take the case that is a product of some of these defeats and challenges and bring it directly to the public, whether you be in Rhode Island, Wyoming, or anywhere else. We have to make a case as libertarians for the authoritarian nature, the exclusive nature of the club, otherwise known as ballot-approved political parties. And we're going to do that in Rhode Island, and we're going to use that as a test case to literally ram this into the, good friend would say, pie hole of literally every authoritarian in America. Amongst those efforts is what they call an APRC request. We have, let's just say, a related organization has literally, amongst what's kind of a state level FOIA, has requested copies of every single ballot form for every single office at every single level in the state of Rhode Island. And we will get those and we will display to Rhode Islanders, let's just say, the fallibility of the process. We're going to use this as a model to roll out across the region. At this moment, I would like to ask Mr. Hall, our Region 8 Alternative, to discuss upcoming efforts to engage with Defend the Guard, an amazing organization across New England and maybe to an affiliate region. And then I'll be happy to answer any questions. Roby?
So I was going to come up and say, I'm Robley Hall from the best region in the country, Region 8. In the spirit of collegiality, I don't want to challenge my colleagues, so I'll say that she only omitted to say the best region who's presented so far. So now, in Region 8, in New Hampshire particularly, we have a very large effort working on Defend the Guard. And for those who aren't aware, but just for the record, Defend the Guard bills prevent the governors from allowing National Guards to be deployed overseas when there is no declared war. So there's a veterans, the LP Veterans Caucus is chaired by Ben Weir, who is a New Hampshire resident. He's organized a set of, or a slate of events on September 11th. And so he's given me this statement to read, and we'd like to encourage everyone to participate. So this September 11th, come to one of the following cities and stand up against murder, corruption, and imperialism. So the cities are Concord, New Hampshire, Sacramento, California, Frankfort, Kentucky, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Springfield, Illinois, Denver, Colorado, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and Tallahassee, Florida. So this is our chance to take ownership of the government, to take ownership of our foreign policy, and to take ownership of our legacy. Make this the moment you stood up to the war machine and didn't back down. Make this the moment you made our future generations proud. So,
Time is expired, there's still several things that I think we should.
Motion to extend time.
Any objection? No, so has to go.
thank you. So if you'd like to have any of your affiliates, any of your members participate or have any questions, Ben and the Libertarian Party Veterans Caucus can be reached at Weir for Liberty, which is WEIR, number 4, liberty@gmail.com. Also mentioned Ben is running for sheriff in New Hampshire on the basis of being a constitutional sheriff. As everybody knows, I'm sure the Constitution calls out one local official, and that's the sheriff. So he's trying to restore that, that status of the sheriff starting in New Hampshire. And one other thing I'd like to mention is we had a very large effort leading to national divorce going in New Hampshire. We've already had one bill introduced to put in front of the citizens of New Hampshire a constitutional amendment to essentially make New Hampshire an independent state. We'd like to support other states and other regions in those efforts. So if anyone is interested in that, they can get in touch with me. That's all I have.
Thank you.
we're short on time. Does anyone have any questions for either of you, Mr. Hall?
I do. Can you tell us what the status of the candidate challenge was, or the response to that for election campaign?
Astonishingly enough, despite the requirement to respond without documentation within 24 hours, as of this morning, the Rhode Island Libertarian Party has yet to receive a single communication as to either A, the acceptance of the challenge, B, what the process is, or C, when we're going to be able to represent ourselves. So it's, Calvin Ball, for people who are Calvin Hobbs, I think it's kind of making up the rules as they go along.
So I know you turned one in, I reviewed it, I thought you guys did a really good job considering less than 24 hours, 9 hours.
Right.
Very impressive. And so you're basically waiting to hear back if they looked at it?
Yeah, they've informally acknowledged receipt of it, as well as the receipt of all our, let's just say, alternative organizations' requests for information. And if I could just point out briefly, amongst the paperwork received back for the signatures that have been invalidated was collateral and other forms from other candidates that have been commingled. It's just a mess.
Is there supposedly going to be hearing dates sometime in the future if they?
Sometime.
Okay.
And I would love to, as we've done a couple of things, incorporate yourself and Mr. Paul, and to see what we can do. And, now that apparently it's going to be a couple of days, I'll make sure your office gets,
Reach out to me?
yeah, some of the documentation in terms of the law that we can forward on.
I will do the legal research for you myself, just let me know, I will get it done.
Great. Appreciate all of your support.
You're welcome. Anybody else have any more questions?
As well.
Yeah, I just wanted to make note of the situation in New York, and how we came up short by only a couple of thousand signatures. And I want to let this board know, everyone knows that I've had some serious problems with the previous iteration of the LNC. One of those things, the list is a mile and a half long, but one of those things is, I believe we were a little too risk adverse and careful when we came to New York by putting stipulations on the money that was to be doled out. We'll never know, but had they had that money previously, they may have gotten over the top. So I just want this board to keep in mind that as a third party and where we're at, being careful is not going to help us. We need to be bold, we need to be risk reward, not risk averse, and I hope the current board members here will keep that in mind. We need to be a little more bolder. I'll never know whether that was the situation, but I was disappointed that New York didn't make it. They did a wonderful job. We could have helped them a little more, I believe. Thank you.
And to your point, Mr. Weller, I was remiss in forgetting to thank the LNC for the upfront, straightforward effort at giving money to New Hampshire. New Hampshire is double the amount of signatures necessary. And again, in a very straightforward, aggressive approach by Mr. O'Donnell and Mr. Pelletier. And to your point, they got the money, they used it, and we're on a pathway to success there, I believe.
So, time is just about expired. I want to encourage everybody in Region 8 and other states that after you complete a campaign, please do a postmortem, because that helps us help you in the future. It's not about shaming you or pointing out your flaws when you do a postmortem. If we can figure out other things we could have done right or ways we could have helped you, we can help you better.
Thank you all.
Let's do one more question.
Recognized from the gallery.
What's that?
May I be recognized from the gallery?
Does anyone have any objection to recognize Mr. Cordova from the gallery for like 30 seconds?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to piggyback because I am from New York and I was a part of the efforts in New York. I just wanted to comment on that for a second. I came to the meeting in Boston in December, and that was the first effort that we made to make the pitch that we deserve some effort toward it. The reason that that was pushed against was we had to get 45,000 signatures in 6 weeks. I want to give you an update on where we stood with that. As stated, we ended up coming about 2,000 signatures short, and that was without the funding from National. But regardless of the funding from National, I want to put that in perspective. We outperformed every single other party that didn't exist, including, and we are what's called a fusion state, which means that you can go for multiple lines as a candidate. Lee Zeldin the now infamous almost stabbed Republican candidate from New York, they tried to get on on the independence line. We outperformed Republicans in the Republican money. So it is very doable with the right efforts and the right coordination for us to get over the top, even in onerous situations like that. And we are that close, we are fighting it in court. But at all the other parties that exist, we went up against a millionaire in Harry Wilson and the Unite New York Party, the Green Party. Other parties came well short. We significantly outperformed them, and we outperformed Lee Zeldin and the Republican one. So when it seems like those things cannot happen, I want you all to know that New York proved that it can happen. And I do believe that with a little extra support and knowing that we had the backing, I do believe that we would have gotten to the top. So that is my slight post-mortem having participated.
Thank you so much. Okay, last up we have Mr. Smith.
Oh, I just didn't turn in a report, as you guys are aware, but I did want to talk a little bit about Idaho is going through a pretty tough process there where they have two competing boards. We've seen this happen quite a bit over the last couple of years. I had got on their EC call, Zoom call a couple of weeks ago, and listened to all one side's of that issues, their complaints and gripes, and kind of gave them some information and told them what I thought could be the process. About 4 or 5 days ago, Jason Sorensen, the chair of one of the affiliates that are competing, sent me a document that has probably 100 documents in it, videos, phone calls, stuff like that. So we're going to have to eventually call a special meeting to really talk about this stuff. We didn't have time before the meeting. So that's something that's on the docket, and I'm going to go through all that information. Of course, I'll send what needs to be sent to the board as well, so the board has that stuff. I imagine that during that special meeting, we'll have to bring a motion to recognize another affiliate. I mean, that's what it sounds like to me. But we'll go over that as a board, so I'm not going to do it all on my own. I did reach out to New Mexico for a report. I reached out to Chris Lucchini. He told me that he wasn't available for anything until after August 5th. I don't know why, so nothing from there. I did talk to a couple of members of Hawaii. They're also having some issues when Middle was removed from the board. They don't know if they did it the correct way. It sounds like they're going to be able to work it out on their own, though, so that's an important thing as well. And I have not gotten any kind of report from Wyoming at all. I did talk to Apollo a little bit just to find out what's going on. They're very shut off, so I'm going to try and get a Discord together with all of the state leadership for the 4 states there and go from there. But it is a hard couple of states. So that's all I have. If anybody has any questions, feel free.
If you think we're going to need a special meeting on Idaho, you got to probably, if it's right, set it when everyone's here, when they can agree or not agree to a date, because trying to set a meeting over email is nice.
That would work for me, absolutely. If that's something you guys want to do.
Do you want to maybe talk to people privately tomorrow? Yeah. Do this is without previous notice, we can do a motion for a special
that would work for me. And another part of that as well is since there are 2 competing factions, we need to let both factions know. They need to have proper notice, and we need to make sure that they can come to their side of issues. So that was another reason too. And, I talked to Jason. I was like, well, you guys said you can make it to the DC. And no, okay, well, we're going to have to do special meeting after that. So, I'm more than amenable to setting that date here and making it something that everybody can attend.
Madam Chair, I'd like to amend the agenda to add set special meeting date, consider Idaho matter under new business.
This requires 2/3, so I'm going to do a voice vote and then we'll count off if anyone agrees. Any further discussion? Going once, going twice, okay. All in favor, you say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, passed unanimously. Thank you.
Okay. And no more questions? Nobody worried about Idaho? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And like I said, I have that document, so we can send that. It's not something.
No, it'll be executive session probably on that. Okay, that brings us almost to lunchtime. So let's see where we're at now.
20 minutes.
We've got 20 minutes.
APRC audit that.
Audit's been stopped and convention oversight committees complaints twice.
Okay, well, we can definitely.
How do we feel about doing one report and then going to lunch 10 minutes early? Good?
Madam Chair, I would just remind you that we do also have any line item for the today, and that might be good for you to do during that 10-minute period.
Let's do that. APRC, are you?
Yes, that's fine. Okay.
Fantastic.
This will be super quick because APRC is a secret committee, and if I tell you anything, I'll have to murder you all, so. But actually, there's a little bit, I can tell you, I was elected APRC chair because basically I'm the only one on the committee who's been on there before. But because of that, I only agreed to do it for 1 year. I want other people to have opportunities. So after 1 year, I'm gonna step down as APRC chair, and the committee will elect a new chair. One thing, though, the committee did express to me is they would like the role of the APRC to perhaps be revisited and expanded. Obviously, that will be up to the LNC. But we are going to meet and put together a proposal, and then it will be up to you guys. Because right now, the APRC just basically, we're a disapproval of the committee. We don't necessarily approve things, but we can disapprove them. And there's been some content suggestions, which really we're not supposed to do, and they would like to have at least a limited role in suggesting some improvements to content. So that's basically all the report we have. Nothing was disapproved, I don't believe, because I would have to report on that. There were some suggestions made, but other than that, things I think are going really smoothly. Everyone's working very, very timely, but probably at our next in-person meeting, we will have a proposal, because that's what the committee decided. Any questions? Awesome, thank you.
All right, that was 2 minutes.
New problems.
Okay,
Make a motion that.
Question about that. Picture days again, right?
Yes, it is.
Is that before and after lunch?
so that is before, during, and after lunch. Yes.
Oh, I was gonna say that I can make a motion to break the lunch early.
Okay, let's go for it.
All right, yeah, I'd motion that we break the lunch early.
Second.
With a return at 1:30.
Any discussion?
Check to see if it's available.
Well, I was gonna also have you come up and have a little announcement.
Yes, okay, lunch is not yet available, still setting it up. So give them another 10, 15 minutes.
How about our photographer?
In terms of the photographer, he is set up in right next door in whatever number C that is, C. And so when you get up to go to lunch, or we can start with photography. Let's do that. I will check to see if the photographer is ready. The plan was you would go get your individual photo first, then get lunch, bring it back in, eat, enjoy, and then when everybody's done with lunch, a group photo. So let me check with him real quick, because maybe that's how we kill 10 or 15 minutes.
And then I can also do my lifetime thing, maybe with the photographer, if you would be so kind as to do a little photo for our website.
Of course.
All right?
Okay.
Okay, so, otherwise, we're just gonna stand around for an extra 10 minutes early for lunch. And I think that everybody is probably feeling that vibe right now. It's a vibe. Okay. So, all in favor of going to lunch, yeah. Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? No, we're good. Okay, we're at lunch. Okay.
I'm gonna stop the live feed now.
We're ready.
All right.
We're